Everybody, this is Connor Bourne here tonight at Friends Stream Sports, and we have a very interesting new situation that we're having to work through as we don't have too many friends. Rutledge is not here, and that's no good. But we're going to push through tonight, just as in our previous night with Peter from across the pond here. We were able to chat. We wanted to keep our 8 o'clock start time going well. Rutledge, if you're watching, can't wait to hear you chime in through the chat. And we're excited because tonight we're going to be talking all about international soccer. And I'm going to be giving just a few of my takes. And during my conversation about my takes, I'll be playing FIFA 20 with the United States men's national team versus Brazil on Legendary. I should lose by a lot. This will not be like last night where the United States rang up 7 goals on England, but I am not as hopeful tonight. So here we go. All right, let's see which jerseys. We'll go with the red for United States because I've always loved these white Brazil jerseys, that's for sure. We're going to do a little team management. I can't believe Josh Sargent is a 69. He'll obviously get better next year, but in next year's rendition of FIFA. But it's still pretty interesting that I have to put Jossie Zardes in for Josh Sargent. We'll put Tyler Boyd in. We'll have him play. All right, back. Play match. So, what we're going to be spending some time doing is hearing some of my best takes as it comes to soccer in general and the United States men's national team. Very excited yet again to get to share this and share our opportunity here all together. And I'm going to start out so hot, nearly too hot to handle, and that is that the World Cup should be held really just in the United States until further notice. The United States is uniquely positioned to be able to not just host the World Cup, but host the World Cup successfully in spite of a variety of conditions. Okay, here's what I mean. If you really think about it, the United States could host a World Cup in January and still have the weather be nice enough to where it's going to be a great experience. Not like Qatar here in 2020. Got to give it to the folks in Qatar. Hopefully they put on a good show, but it's probably going to be hot, and that's why they moved the World Cup to November. That was my understanding. But the amount of stadiums that you have, first off, is so you don't have to build any new stadiums, and you've got a great amount of stadiums already in place to play games. Just in Florida, for example, you have multiple really world-class sporting venues that have already hosted big time events. So, starting kind of in the northern part of the state, I won't even mention the college stadiums. We'll just talk mainly pro stadiums. The Jacksonville Jaguars do have a NFL-size stadium and have hosted big games before. Oh, there's the first goal for Brazil. It's going to be a long night. Neymar just took me to school. But you've got Jacksonville Jaguars Stadium that you could host games at. Decently sized airport, but the nice part there is being kind of close to Atlanta or closer to Atlanta. And yet again, that NFL stadium. And they're used to housing multiple teams. You got to remember, cities with NFL teams are used to the limelight of the big game weekends. Next in Orlando, not only do you have the Citrus Bowl, I will always refer to it as the Citrus Bowl. I think it's called Camping World now. Lame. But you have Exploria Stadium or MLS Stadium. Obviously, you're not going to be playing knockout matches in Exploria Stadium, right? 20,000 folks. I could see some lesser just some lesser group stage matches happening there for sure. But Camping World Stadium, the only knock on Camping World Stadium is that it's turf. But, Orlando City played there a bunch. And really if you're going to host a World Cup and you wanted to host a World Cup, there's enough money in the budget to put grass down at Camping World. That's for sure. Then after that, you've got another NFL stadium in Tampa with a big-time airport. Oh, by the way, the Orlando airport is used to millions of tourists thanks to Walt Disney World and all the guests that it welcomes every year. Tampa has always a very highly rated airport. And then, I haven't even talked about Miami yet, the most international city in the entire state of Florida. Great population that should cheer for a variety of different teams. Then you've got Hard Rock Stadium, who's already hosted a Clasico, already hosted a Real Madrid-Barcelona match. And if that is not good enough for a World Cup, I don't know what is. I could keep going and going and going, but I think my point is made. I think the other main point to consider is where there's the second goal for Brazil. Not good. They're just pouring it on. Where some countries have to really build out infrastructure and build out those stadiums and arenas and hotels. Not just the entire United States, but there are certain portions of the United States that could handle all those tourism notes initially without even having to build one thing. And it would be a big weekend, but it wouldn't be the biggest weekend that those cities have ever had cumulatively. And having a World Cup final, I know in the Rose Bowl in '94 that was awesome, but let's add another World Cup final to the Rose Bowl. That's pretty fantastic. So that is take number 1 here tonight. Hope everyone enjoyed that. Take number 2 as it comes to soccer, and this is my hot take. This is probably the hottest take I'm going to have this evening, is that the United States men's national team, despite what the fans and our viewers are watching right now, United States men's national team is one deep World Cup run away from being a multi-generational power in the world soccer stage. On the men's side, obviously the women's team is phenomenal. Got to give a ton of credit to them. It'll be interesting to see in the women's game what happens once all the U.S. women's national team players have made their jaunt over to Europe. But in terms of the men, all we need is one deep run, and I believe that the United States will be in the world soccer scene to stay. What do I mean by deep run? By deep run, I mean we don't have to win the group, but definitely advancing into the knockout stages, and I think a semifinal. Here's why. I think if the United States just made one semifinal run, that would be so great just for soccer for the country in general. To get to the semifinals, you're going to have to beat somebody really, really good. I know that's kind of common sense, but to get to the semifinal match, not just round of 16, where you might, have a team that is a real surprise squad, or facing a quarterfinal match where you'd have a Colombia per se that you'd have to play, but generally speaking, if you're hitting into the quarterfinals, there's a great chance you're going up against a France, you're going up against a Belgium, you're going up against a Brazil, you're going up against an Argentina, you're going up against just these real world powers. And to make it to the semifinals, that means that there will be a game where Christian Pulisic goes toe-to-toe with the likes of a Paul Pogba or a Paulo Dybala, or a Coutinho or a Neymar, and comes out victorious. And that is incredible. And I think that once we have that under our belts, not just the fanship, but those kids who are trying to figure out which sports they're going to play are going to really start to gravitate towards soccer. One of the things in the United States that I think is very true in terms of sports is not only do we love winners, but we love being the best. And we love to be entertained, and we love stars. So, all the other leagues, that the United States has, has the value of being probably the best in the world. NBA's best in the world. NFL for sure would be best in the world. And, MLS, not so much. The United States men's national team, not the best in the world. But being able to just sniff being the best in the world, I think will excite fans enough to want to start to get more and more good, talented players. The United States definitely has a talent with a population of 330 million people. But they need to have the audacity, and they need to have the wherewithal to continue to push forward and say, hey, we might have been so close to beating Brazil. We're going to beat Brazil. We're going to come back. We're going to keep it going. So I think that, the United States men's national team just in general is so close to being a world power, and I really hope we get to see it. And we're going to see here if there's any substitutions to be made. I see Yedlin is kind of struggling here, which, par for the course. Although I don't want to take his speed out. I always like having fresh legs in the match here. All right. I think that's the only halftime substitution I'm going to make, which is going to bring me to our third take here this evening in this brief edition of Friends Stream Sports. And what I want to do right now is spend a little bit of time talking about the U.S. men's national team, just an overview. We've got the World Cup coming up, which will be here before we know it. We got to get World Cup qualifying. I'm really excited to see less and less of a rotated squad and start to see the squad that Greg Berhalter is going to be placing forth oh, there's another goal for Brazil. I'm getting crushed right now. But the squad that Greg Berhalter is going to be putting out there. So, my first thought, which I find really interesting, and all cards on the table, I really started following the men's national team at the 2010 World Cup. Really started getting to them a little bit there, really followed them in 14. 2018, was just the collapse of epic proportions. But now we've got a chance to really, that wrong football there, buddy. All right. We got a corner. That's a little better. All right. But it was interesting, especially the squad circa 2014 is, it was definitely a squad of overachievers and gritty defense and Tim Howard and playing a defend and counter kind of style. And, the defense definitely was the calling card of the U.S. men's national team. The defense and just that spirit and that grit. We're pulling one back here. There we go. Rock on. So definitely very, it's interesting, though, in that now when you look at the midfield, when you look at, the attack and the positives that are in the attack of the U.S. men's national team side, you've got the defense is kind of the bigger question marks. I understand that Zach Steffen is in the Man City system, but, he's on loan right now. Is he going to really challenge Ederson? We don't know that yet. He could, but, I think that there's still a lot of question marks around that. Who's going to pair up with John Brooks? Is it one of the MLS defenders? I'm not seeing too many Americans in MLS being able to stop the likes of Neymar or a Lewandowski or even a Suarez at this advanced age. I think that that's going to be a little bit too tall of a task for them. The second thing that I think is important in terms of U.S. men's national team and just understanding, Brazil is now back up by 3 goals for those watching. The second thing that is important in terms of the U.S. men's national team is that we're really excited about is just all of the young stars that are coming over from Europe. Definitely very, very excited about that. Josh Sargent at Werder Bremen. You've got Tim Weah at Lille. I think that's awesome. I think the sky's the limit for young attacking winger Tim Weah. You've got Christian Pulisic, obviously at Chelsea. Hopefully he gets back. He is starting to pick up a few more injuries than you'd like to see, but that's okay. Hopefully he can recover well. So you've got a lot more young players really wanting to be impact players in Europe, which I think is only going to make them better. And then finally with that, with that are just, the changing of the guard, if you will, from the Michael Bradley, Clint Dempsey era. And not just that, but the role players on that squad, right? The Matt Beaslers are no longer being called upon. Wow, Brazil is really starting to pour it on. Definitely, you've got a guy like Weston McKennie who is going to be a very, very critical player in the squad for who's got time at Juventus last week, right? The old lady. That is big time. That is huge for our men's national team. I saw Serginho Dest is probably going to go play at Barcelona. If he could go lock down that left back spot, one of the full back spots for Barcelona, are you kidding? That would be huge. That would be huge for the defense. Now, the question would be, are players like that are known as very versatile, not just those two gentlemen, but Tyler Adams? Is it better to have, that versatile, be able to play a variety of positions, or have your one spot and be the best at that one spot? So I think that's another question that the U.S. men's national team is going to have to answer. But, I really am excited about the prospects of everything that they are bringing to the table. Which brings me to my last topic of the night, and this is something I'm really passionate about. I love the MLS. I think the MLS is awesome. I don't think the MLS is always the best league to watch in the world because of its quality. I mean, it's definitely not the best league because of its quality, but the parity that it has. I always appreciated the parity, and there's the best teams do change out every year, but just some of the goals do really kind of to the lack of quality. Just make it a really fun league to watch. But, one of the things that hopefully MLS will get to do will become a more impactful and more important league on the world stage. And I do have a few thoughts. I know we're running up against the clock here, but I do have a few thoughts of how I think MLS can really get to be just a really important league. First off, and I know, trust me, I'm a believer in promotion and relegation, but I think it is really more important to change the schedule of MLS to match more of the European League schedule. What that's going to do is have more of the marquee games right when everyone's thinking about soccer, everyone's thinking about football. I've totally given up on this. Down 6-1, this is no good. But being able to do that. Obviously, with the NFL, you'd probably want to change your games to weekday games. Mostly, kind of Tuesday, Wednesday. If you're playing soccer during kind of the American football season, but I think that you could do that for the start of the season and then just shift the schedule once American football is done to have that more traditional weekend game. The other thing that I really think would be critical would be if the MLS needs to pick a day and own it. Start to get some real estate in the United States sports landscape. NBA has Christmas Day. That is their day. College football has Labor Day. Baseball has kind of, 4th of July and kind of so a lot of those dog days of summer. But, you think 4th of July, you think that scene from The Sandlot with the big, fireworks show. MLS needs to pick a day. It could be Memorial Day, it could be St. Patrick's Day, it could be Cinco de Mayo, it could be something. But MLS needs to pick a day where every team plays and they do some kitschy kind of fun, maybe tournament style, East versus West Cup, where all the teams will play each other for some mythical conference cup, just something fun. Or just a really big time game, just something huge to be, considered and just to try to get some real estate and get eyeballs on the television, just like what Neymar did to me right there. So those are two things that I think are really important that the MLS could do to increase and impact what they are trying to accomplish. And that's become more and more of an important league. Getting crushed 7-1 by Brazil doesn't feel good, but we are here we are. And maybe I'll get better at FIFA, even though I enjoy playing it. I definitely don't play it enough on Legendary, as you could tell. But we are always interested in learning and trying to get better. But to close out, I do want to review our picks, the picks from last week. Although both games that I picked did win, I did not pick the spreads correctly, so it was one of those weird 2-0, 0-2 nights and weekends last week. But, here we go. Here's Connor's picks for this upcoming weekend. The two big NFL games that I'll be following, New Orleans Saints versus the Green Bay Packers. And for some reason, Green Bay Packers I saw are 3-point underdogs, which I think is wild. I know I picked Green Bay Packers as my bust team. Aaron Rodgers has come out so hot. Drew Brees has not looked good. There won't be any fans in the Superdome. Green Bay is gonna win. So don't even worry about it. I'm picking the road dog here, but I think for good reason I'm picking the road dog. Next up is probably the biggest early season game in recent memory is Chiefs at Ravens. Ravens are a 3.5-point favorite. I think that just all the momentum that the Ravens do have is going to carry them through the day. Kansas City played, really close to a Chargers team that, quite honestly, I think they've got some good players, but I don't think that they should have pushed the Chiefs as far and hard as they did. Baltimore really has it going on. Baltimore's got a great system. I think Lamar Jackson is going to really show out, and it's a hard offense to prepare for in a week. So I am going to go with the Ravens. So those are my picks. Next week we'll be back at full strength with all our friends. But for now, this is Connor and producer Betsy here with Friends Stream Sports and producer Ronan. Ronan, do you have anything to say for your fan? Ronan says woof. Everybody, Ronan says woof. He says I'm crazy to pick the Chiefs or pick the Ravens. Ronan's going with the Chiefs, so we'll see if Ronan's right next week. So thank you all so much, and definitely excited. And write in and follow us. If you follow us, we will send you our merchandise. So hope you all have a great night.